Hello everybody, this is the grade 11 theory unit 3A. The topic today is root position triads, and those are including major, augmented, minor, and diminished triads. So before we get started, just a little bit of how it's going to work. So I'm going to be following along with the theory guide, going through the descriptions, just reading it all out. And then all of the examples I'll be demonstrating on the board here. So you can see I've already got it set up to get started. So before we begin with triads, just a quick note, important review. Make sure you've got a working on knowledge, both the major and the minor key signatures, scales, and the circle of fifths. And you should be able to find any key signature relatively quickly. It doesn't have to be, super fast, but just have a working knowledge, an ability to recall those things, in a quicker manner will be of benefit to you when we're working through these. So the first thing we got to do is define what a triad is. So a triad is a specific grouping of three pitches that are sounded together to create a chord. And each pitch in the triad has a specific name derived from its placement within the chord. The pitches are stacked vertically on top of each other at the interval for which they are named. So all of the triads we're looking at today will be stacked thirds, basically. We weren't worrying about inversions or anything like that today, so we'll be getting to that at some point. But so when we're identifying all the pitches, we always, just like we did with intervals, we're always counting from the bottom up. So you can see on the board in front of us, we've got three notes, bottom note C, middle notes E, top notes G, and those are always, when we're identifying triads, chords, everything, it's always from the bottom going up and then determining how things have been altered. So the bottom note we call the root, and that's the bottom pitch of the triad. The third, in this case it's an E, is a major third above the root, and then the fifth, which is G in this case, is a perfect fifth above the root. Each type of triad will have a specific set of intervals created between each of the degrees, and the intervals of a triad are the root to the fifth, the root to the root to the third, the root to the fifth, and then the third to the fifth as well. So there's different ways of looking, and there'll all be some variations. It won't always be the same intervals. They will change, and that's what gives us the different sounds of the different triads. And then you can see there's a couple examples there in your learning guide, showing you, they're all, again, they're all the basic concept. Everything's a third, but the relationships between the intervals will change depending on where those notes are located. So let's start with this example. So we're going to talk first about major triads. And a major triad can be derived by using the tonic, or the root, the median, or the third, and the dominant, or the fifth, from any major key. Looking at the board, actually all of these currently are major triads. They're all C major triads. But with the way I'm going to be doing these examples, I'm going to, again, follow along with the guide. A little bit later in your guide, there's a specific format that I'd like everybody to use as we're solving these, just to help kind of keep things organized. So you can see in your guide there's a C major scale, right? And we said, well, it's the root, the third, and the fifth, because we're doing a major triad and we're doing some C major variations. We're going to be treating C as the root, which means E is the third, G is the fifth. Combine them together and you get these triads. But there are intervals that exist between these triads. So I'm going to be labeling my triad starting over here with the third measure here. So C major. We'll use that as like our benchmark. If you remember back to grade 9 or grade 10, I guess we had the benchmark intervals. We're trying, major, augmented, minor, diminished. The chart that follows in the guide will go with that in a minute too. But there are specific intervals that exist between all of these notes. If we count the distance from the root to the third, if we go back again, okay, well, like we did in grade 9, grade 10, we're always treating an interval as the bottom. The distance from the bottom to the top, we treat the bottom note, we assume we are in the key of the root note that we're given. In this case, it's C, so we assume we're in C major, and then we're going to count the distance from C to E. We know that E is a third above C. Both of those notes are diatonic. They exist within the key of C major, therefore we've got a major third between these notes. And so I'm going to also be following along under here. So we've got our root. We've identified this as a major third. And then we've also got another third here. Remember, triads can be thought of as stacked thirds as well. So we're going to now count the distance, or the interval, between the E and the G. Going back to grade 9 again, or grade 10, remembering that the bottom note, again, is dictating the key that we're in. So if we, for a moment, suspend the C or remove the C, and we count the distance from E to G, well, now we're thinking in terms of E major as the root, which has 4 sharps in its key signature, and G sharp should be one of those sharps in order for it to be a major third. However, we've got a G natural in C major, so instead of a major third, this interval is actually a minor third. So, all major triads will have a root. A third above the root will be a major third, and then another third, my mistake, a minor third above the mediant as well. So the mediant to the dominant is a minor third, and that gives us a major triad. The next type of triad we're going to look at is an augmented triad. And an augmented triad can be derived by taking a major triad and raising the fifth by a semitone. And so we're still going to have our root. We're still going to have a third of some kind in each of these examples, and we'll fill in the blanks as we go. So this triad, C augmented. So the distance from C to E, as we just defined, we're actually not going to be altering that distance. So we're still going to have a major third between those two notes. The distance from the mediant to the dominant, in this case, again, we go back and we're going to cross out our C. We know that we're going to be raising that fifth, so actually we can go ahead and do that right now. So E to G sharp, again, E major, 4 sharps, G sharp is in the key of E major, so this time we actually have a major third between these notes. So augmented triads, root, major third, major third. It's a symmetrical situation with both of those thirds being major. As we move our way to the right, I'm going to go ahead and fill in some of these blanks here just while we're... So we know we're going to be dealing with a minor triad as our next one. Minor triads can be derived by using the tonic, the mediant, and the dominant from any natural minor key. So we can again imagine we're in the key of C minor with 3 flats, and we know that E flat is one of those. G is still a note that's not being altered in C minor in terms of using an accidental. So let's go through again. So we've got, in all of these cases again, right, we've got C as our root. Let's count up to the third. C to an E flat. Well, that's actually a minor third because we've got, again, the distance. We think C major, right? Going back, C to E natural is a major third, but in this case we have C to E flat, so we do have a minor third. Now let's, again, imagine E flat to G. Is that a major third? Is it a minor third? E flat major, also 3 flats. This time it's actually a major third. So we've got minor third, major third for minor triads. And then we can also get diminished triads. In a diminished triad, we take a minor third, or sorry, we take a minor triad, so we need to have our E flat, and then we also need to have a diminished fifth, or a secondary minor third on top of that. So we've got minor third here, and we've got minor third again here. And so you can see that when we think of this in terms of stacked thirds, major triads have major third, minor triads, minor third, major third, the opposite. Diminished triads, minor third, also symmetrical just like augmented. And then we go from major to augmented, major third, minor third for major, and augmented, major third, major third. So actually they're both symmetrical opposites between augmented and diminished triads. Your guide goes through a couple examples showing different keys and how those relationships are at play. And you can see also how the fifth interacts with each of these scenarios as well. So we didn't really talk about this in our example, but the distance really quickly from excuse me, going from C to G, so this distance is a perfect fifth. If we go over here, this one's actually an augmented fifth. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'll do it over here. I know it's getting a little bit messy here. This distance, C to G, still a perfect fifth. And then this distance over here is a diminished fifth, going from C to G flat. So if we count the fifth as part of it, we can see that that's taking place as well. In your guide, in the assigned work for this unit, You've got to write out all 4 triad types for each of the 12 chromatic pitches. You only have to use 1 harmonic spelling for each chromatic pitch, unless you really want to do all of them. It's totally your choice. What we mean by that again, you can do an example or this series of triads using C sharp as the root note for all 4 of them, or you can choose to do D flat as the root note for all of them. Again, C sharp, D flat, and harmonic equivalence. So it's up to you. You can do both or one or the other, but 12 variants will need to be included for this assignment. Using MuseScore. So do this assignment on MuseScore for all of those keys. Export the MuseScore file as a PDF and also submit that, and then I can use or I can manipulate that when I'm marking, going through these for you. But that's it. That's it for triads. Yeah, thanks everybody.